Imagine being the biggest background NPC alive. Then out of nowhere, you get transferred to a school packed with rich, gorgeous girls who refuse to let you live in peace. Bro didn't ask for a harem, but the plot already signed him up. Our story kicks off at an elite academy made exclusively for daughters of insanely wealthy families. Standing on stage is our unlucky main character, Kamito Kagarizaka, getting hit with a non-stop barrage of questions from dozens of curious girls who want to know what the outside world is like. But before we get there, let's rewind a bit. Earlier that day, Kamito was doing what every professional student does, trying to sleep through class. Suddenly, his friend wakes him up and asks him to grab some tea. Seems normal enough, until a squad of giant bodyguards storms into the classroom, grabs Kamito like he's the final piece of discounted furniture, throws him into a van, and kidnaps him in broad daylight. And somehow, that isn't even the weirdest part. During the ride, these absolute units start flexing their muscles like they're filming a bodybuilding commercial. Kamito just sits there wondering if he got kidnapped by the military, or a gym membership. Eventually, the van stops in front of a luxurious girls' academy, where a maid named Kojo welcomes him and politely escorts him inside like this whole kidnapping thing is perfectly normal. She explains that this prestigious academy is only for daughters of the richest and most influential families. Soon after, Kamito meets the headmistress, who reveals the academy's biggest problem. Since these girls have spent their entire lives isolated from normal society, they graduate knowing almost nothing about ordinary people, especially men. So after searching everywhere for the most average, harmless, completely non-threatening guy they could find, they somehow ended up with Kamito. Congratulations, bro, you're officially the human tutorial mode. Naturally, Kamito refuses the offer, but the headmistress immediately changes the mood by threatening to permanently remove him, and a few important accessories, to protect the student's purity. Yeah, suddenly this doesn't feel like a choice anymore. With his future bloodline hanging in the balance, Kamito reluctantly accepts the job. As if things weren't already embarrassing enough, he learns that his own friend somehow convinced everyone at the academy that Kamito has a strange obsession with muscles. Bro really got sabotaged before the first day even started. Kamito quickly tries to clear up the misunderstanding, only to accidentally confess that he's actually obsessed with thighs instead. Great recovery, genius. Now every girl in the room is looking at him like he's about to write a PhD thesis on legs. Honestly, some of you watching would have fumbled even harder. After joining the class, Kamito is introduced to the elegant class representative, Reiko. Right in the middle of everyone's introductions, Kamito's phone suddenly starts ringing. The girls immediately freeze. Not because it's loud, because they've literally never seen a smartphone before. To them, this thing might as well be alien technology. Later, when Kamito simply returns something that belonged to Reiko, she treats it like the greatest act of kindness in human history. The girls organize a full-on formal thank you ceremony complete with chocolates, a heartfelt letter, and enough nervous energy to make Reiko nearly pass out. Thankfully, Kamito catches her before she hits the floor. Good reflexes, because the plot definitely wasn't letting her faceplant there. A few moments later, another student named Aika suddenly pulls Kamito outside and tries to kiss him. Apparently, she heard a rumor that kissing a commoner makes your wishes come true. Whoever started that rumor deserves jail time. Kamito somehow convinces her it's completely fake. Then, because he's incapable of letting a good prank go to waste, he tells her that spinning around 3 times and barking like a dog is the real way to make wishes come true. And she actually believes him. She spins, she barks, she commits to the bit harder than half the internet. Even Kamito can't believe that actually worked. The other girls explain that Aika has trouble making friends because she's painfully honest and doesn't really understand how to connect with people. Realizing what she just did, she gets completely embarrassed and runs away before anyone can tease her. Later that day, Kojo shows Kamito his new room. To make him feel comfortable, they've recreated it to look exactly like his old bedroom. Well, almost exactly, because the walls are still covered with his collection of thigh posters. Bro's digital footprint betrayed him in real life. Panicking over the horrible first impression, Kamito starts ripping every poster off the walls before anyone walks in and thinks he's even weirder than he already looks. Mission failed though, that reputation is already beyond saving. Kojo then informs Kamito that she'll be serving as his personal maid, but she immediately makes one thing crystal clear. She's only doing it because it was ordered, not because she likes him. Relax, bro. She had to make sure your ego didn't level up. As soon as Kojo leaves, Aika quietly sneaks into Kamito's room. She's still a little annoyed about getting tricked earlier, but instead of arguing, she becomes completely fascinated by all the ordinary items scattered around his room. Everything looks brand new to her because she's never experienced a normal life outside the academy. And after looking around for a while, she finally gathers the courage to reveal the real reason she came. The real reason Aika approached Kamito finally comes out. More than anything, she wants to experience a normal teenage life. She dreams of making real friends, having fun after school, and becoming popular like an ordinary high school girl. Kamito tells her that making friends isn't some secret life hack. You don't need magic, you just need to be yourself. Simple advice. Now whether people actually like the real you, that's a different story. Some of y'all already know that struggle. To introduce her to commoner life, Kamito starts with the most important lesson of all, video games. Forget textbooks. This is real education. The two decide to create their own commoners club, where Kamito will teach Aika everything she wants to know about life outside the academy. Later that day, Kamito stands on stage as the academy's special guest while dozens of students bombard him with endless questions about everyday life. To them, even the most ordinary things sound fascinating. Watching everyone get so excited over basic commoner stories makes Aika smile for the first time in a while. The next morning, Kamito wakes up to find Kojo standing right beside his bed. As his assigned personal maid, she's expected to handle everything, from waking him up to helping him get dressed. Talk about premium customer service. Unfortunately, her facial expression says she'd rather be anywhere else. Before heading to class, Kojo suggests using a hidden path through the dormitory instead of the main hallway. Confused, Kamito asks why. Kojo explains that after yesterday's chaos, it's probably smarter if the academy's only male student avoids attracting even more attention. Honestly, good luck with that. The guy's existence alone is today's biggest news headline. The moment Kamito steps outside his room, he runs into Aika. She happily shouts his name loud enough for half the academy to hear, instantly ruining Kojo's entire stealth plan. Mission failed in under 5 seconds. Aika proudly explains that she always uses the back entrance because popular people avoid crowded hallways. That's actually pretty confident for someone who literally came here asking how to make friends. Since today is the first official meeting of the Commoners Club, Kamito notices both of their maids secretly following behind them like undercover security guards who forgot what undercover means. Kamito suggests making a deal. He'll teach Aika everything about ordinary life, and in return, she'll teach him how things work inside this bizarre academy. Aika is surprised he picked her instead of the elegant class representative, Reiko. Kamito honestly admits that Reiko is so graceful and refined that talking to her makes him nervous. The second those words leave his mouth, Aika punches him out of pure embarrassment. Bro unlocked violence by giving someone a compliment. As they reach the classroom, Reiko politely invites Kamito to an after-school welcome party. The invitation somehow makes Aika unexpectedly jealous. Oh, looks like someone's downloading feelings without realizing it. As classes continue, Kamito quickly becomes one of the most popular students in school. Not because he's especially cool, but because he's literally the only ordinary boy any of the girls have ever met. When the competition is zero, even average becomes legendary. Later, Kamito asks Reiko why Aika is always by herself. Reiko explains that Aika has always kept her distance from everyone else. Kamito doesn't blame anyone for it. Instead, he encourages the girls to give Aika a chance and try getting to know her better. After school, everyone gathers for Kamito's welcome party. The table is filled with expensive gourmet dishes that probably cost more than Kamito's monthly allowance. Meanwhile, this man looks at all that luxury and orders instant ramen. Peak commoner behavior. The girls stare at the cup noodles like Kamito just revealed a legendary national treasure. After he pours in the hot water and lets everyone have a taste, they're completely shocked that something so cheap can actually taste this good. Congratulations, cup noodles just achieved 5-star status. Meanwhile, Aika quietly eats by herself. She admits it's always been easier to stay alone than to keep trying to fit in with everyone else. Soon, the party moves on to a formal dance. Kamito immediately admits he has absolutely no idea what he's doing. Thankfully, Reiko offers to teach him. Unfortunately, Kamito dances like a shopping cart with one broken wheel. His moves are so unbelievably awkward that everyone watching assumes it's some new trendy dance from the outside world. Fake it till you make it, or until rich people start copying you. After nearly making Reiko fall over, the two accidentally end the dance in a dramatic final pose. The audience explodes into applause. They think it was all intentional. Sometimes confidence really is just surviving your own mistakes. Later that evening, Aika reminds Kamito that he still owes her another lesson about commoner culture. Looking around his room, Kamito starts introducing her to even more ordinary things that she's never seen before. Instead of showing her a textbook, Kamito hands Aika a manga. Now here's the problem. Aika is so innocent that she believes every single thing she reads is completely real. Yep, she actually convinces herself that normal teenagers can unlock psychic powers if they train hard enough. Anime logic has officially escaped the screen. Seeing the perfect chance to mess with her, Kamito decides to play along. He acts like a mysterious master and pretends to teach her how to awaken her hidden abilities. Aika follows every instruction with total confidence. She proudly uses her new psychic powers on Kamito while he dramatically reacts like it's actually working. Bro deserves an Oscar for this performance. Things are going great until Aika suddenly leans in and tries to kiss him. At that exact moment, Kamito immediately drops the joke. Even he realizes the prank has gone way too far. He finally explains that manga is fictional entertainment, not an instruction manual for real life. Sorry, Aika, the power of friendship is real. The power of anime psychic abilities, not so much. That evening, Reiko finishes taking a bath and is about to leave. Right as Kamito accidentally walks in, the two freeze like their internet connection just died. After a painfully awkward few few seconds, Kamito apologizes as fast as humanly possible and sprints away before making things even worse. Reiko, however, takes the accident incredibly seriously. Instead of simply calling it a misunderstanding, she somehow jumps straight to, "Guess we'll have to get married." Girl skipped about 1,000 steps there. The following day, Reiko can't focus on anything. She's completely lost in her own imagination, daydreaming about marrying Kamito after finally realizing she's fallen in love with him. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the academy, two students visit the school's legendary genius inventor, Hakuwa. Calling her eccentric would be an understatement. She has an endless list of personal rules. She refuses to dress herself, and she'll only eat meals prepared exactly the way she wants on that particular day. Basically, living with her comes bundled with a 300-page instruction manual. The next morning, Kamito is once again woken up by Kojo as part of his daily routine. He also receives a message from his family. Apparently, thanks to the academy generously rewarding them for letting him enroll, they've suddenly become surprisingly wealthy. They even had a private hot spring installed at home. Bro got kidnapped, and his parents somehow unlocked the luxury DLC. Although Kamito is slowly getting used to life at the academy, one thing still makes him uncomfortable. No matter where he goes, the girls keep staring at him. Every hallway feels like he's the only panda at the zoo. While taking a short break in the school garden, Kamito notices a mysterious girl standing in front of a statue, completely focused on writing complicated mathematical equations. Curious, he walks over to see what she's doing. Then, without warning, she casually starts taking off her clothes. Apparently, that's how she thinks more clearly. Yeah, don't ask. 4. Anime just animated. Just then, Kamito hears other students getting closer. Knowing this scene would be impossible to explain, he quickly picks the girl up and rushes her back to her room before anyone catches them together. For once, he's actually trying to avoid getting framed. After bringing the mysterious girl back safely, Kamito asks why she keeps running around half-dressed. She casually admits she doesn't actually know how to put on her own clothes, so Kamito ends up helping her get dressed. The girl introduces herself as Hakuwa, a brilliant student whose intelligence is only matched by how absent-minded she is. When Kamito asks whether she remembers seeing him during the academy's orientation, Hakuwa honestly says she doesn't. She was too busy working inside her laboratory to notice something as minor as the academy's only male student. A few moments later, Hakuwa's stomach starts growling, so Kamito decides to cook her a bowl of ramen. At first, she's suspicious of this unfamiliar food, but after one bite, she's completely hooked. Never underestimate instant noodles. They've already conquered one academy. The second Hakuwa finishes eating, she immediately falls asleep on the spot. Kamito tries waking her up, but instead, she suddenly jumps to her feet after getting a burst of inspiration. She starts covering the room with insanely complicated equations, and once again forgets she's supposed to be wearing clothes. Unfortunately, this is exactly when Aika walks into the room. The first thing she sees is Kamito standing there, holding Hakuwa's underwear, while Hakuwa is only half-dressed beside him. Yeah, there isn't a single explanation on Earth that's going to save him now. From Aika's perspective, the situation looks as suspicious as humanly possible. Later, Kamito escorts Hakuwa back to her laboratory and gently encourages her to at least learn how to dress herself. Inside the lab, Hakuwa's mate explains that Hakuwa is a world-famous genius. Her mathematical discoveries are so valuable that every equation she writes has to be photographed immediately, before she forgets it herself. When the maid starts preparing lunch, Kamito casually mentions that he's already fed Hakuwa earlier. Everyone is left completely stunned, because Hakuwa normally refuses to eat anything that isn't prepared under her incredibly strict conditions. Hakuwa follows Kamito to the door. Then, in a quiet voice, she gently grabs his sleeve and asks him to stay a little longer. Kamito smiles and promises that she can visit him whenever she wants before saying goodbye. Watching the whole interaction, the maids immediately switch into gossip mode. Even though Hakuwa looks like a little kid, she's 14 years old, so they quietly decide to keep a very close eye on Kamito, just in case. Poor guy. At this point, breathing near a girl is enough to start a new rumor. The next day, Kamito is chatting with Aika and Reiko during flower arranging class. Reiko kindly offers to help him improve his arrangement. But before they can continue, another unusual student makes her entrance. Meet Karen, a tall swordswoman who carries a katana everywhere like she's permanently waiting for the final boss battle. Everything is going perfectly fine, until Karen spots a tiny little insect. Instantly, she panics. Instead of calmly shooing it away like a normal person, she starts wildly swinging her sword across the classroom. Kamito immediately jumps out of the way before becoming today's biology lesson. Realizing how ridiculous she looks, Karen quickly tries to save her pride. She claims she wasn't attacking the bug, she was attacking Kamito because he's the real insect. That's certainly one way to avoid admitting you're scared of bugs. What follows is complete chaos. Karen's sword slices through everyone's uniforms with unbelievable precision, without actually hurting a single person. Seconds later, half the classroom is standing around in their underwear. Average anime school day. Kamito's clothes don't survive either. Trying to stop Karen before someone loses more than just their dignity, he manages to knock the sword out of her hands. Unfortunately, one last slash finishes the job. Now both Kamito and Karen are completely exposed. Congratulations, nobody won this battle. After After everything finally calms down, Karen asks if every commoner is as strong as Kamito. Kamito casually shrugs and says he's one of the weakest. Bro really chose psychological damage. Karen's confidence immediately crashes harder than the stock market. Determined to prove herself, she challenges Kamito to another duel, and gets defeated just as easily. At this point, Karen completely gives up. Instead of seeing Kamito as a rival, she declares herself his apprentice. She vows to stay by his side until she's finally strong enough to defeat him one day. Congratulations, Kamito. You accidentally recruited another follower without even trying. Naturally, rumors spread across the academy at lightning speed. Everyone starts talking about how Kamito somehow convinced the school's strongest swordswoman to follow him around. Bro isn't collecting Pokemon, he's collecting heroines. Back in his room, Aika excitedly announces her newest strategy for becoming popular. She wants to throw a party for the entire class. Kamito likes the idea, but he points out they'll need plenty of phones if they want to invite everyone. Almost as if she was waiting for her cue, Hakuwa suddenly appears. She casually says she'll just build the phones herself, because apparently making smartphones is a casual afternoon hobby for her. Watching how naturally Hakuwa talks with Kamito makes Aika unexpectedly jealous. Before anyone can process that, Karen also walks in. She reminds Kamito that she's staying close to him as part of her sword training. At this point, his room is starting to look less like a bedroom, and more like a waiting room for the main heroine auditions. Finally, Aika blurts out the question that's been bothering her. Why is Kamito always so nice to everyone, except her? Kamito smirks, then tells her it's because she acts exactly like a classic tsundere. Aika instantly denies everything. Absolutely not. No way. Impossible. Which, ironically, is the most tsundere response she could have given. Completely flustered, she hurriedly announces that it's time for another Commoners Club meeting, then kicks every other girl out of the room. After running outside to scream into the void from pure embarrassment, she finally calms down and comes back. Right then, a delivery arrives. Inside are all the phones Hakuwa promised to make. Yeah, she actually built them, because apparently being a genius means side quests take 5 minutes. Grateful for everyone's help, Aika suggests celebrating with a group photo. Even Karen, who keeps pretending she's too serious for things like this, quietly admits she'd like to be in the picture too. The next day, Reiko politely invites Kamito to a tea party in her room. Before he can even answer, Aika instantly grabs his arm. She reminds him that they already have plans for another Commoners Club meeting. Kamito points out that today's meeting isn't exactly urgent, but Aika refuses to let go. She clings to his arm like she's protecting the last limited edition collectible on Earth. In the end, Kamito apologizes to Reiko and leaves together with Aika. While Kamito and Aika walk away together, Reiko and the other girls quietly watch from a distance. The more they look, the more they start wondering if those two have gotten a lot closer than anyone realized. And you know how school rumors work. Someone smiles at you once. By lunch, you're apparently planning a wedding. Meanwhile, Kamito and Aika continue planning their Commoners Club event. Kamito suggests serving mako, a popular after-school snack that ordinary students love to eat. Aika instantly falls in love with the idea. Simple food really is undefeated. Elsewhere, Reiko can't stop thinking about Kamito and Aika. The image of them leaving together keeps replaying in her head. Then one of her friends casually jokes that maybe they're already dating. That single sentence lands like a critical hit. Reiko immediately gets overwhelmed with jealousy, bursts into tears, and runs out of the room. Emotional damage. A little later, Kamito notices Reiko's friend looking upset. Curious about what happened, he decides to investigate. He visits Reiko, but she refuses to talk at first. Eventually, she admits that she's feeling terrible after arguing with her friend. Realizing he's partly responsible for the misunderstanding, Kamito decides to cheer her up. Meanwhile, back in his room, Aika casually reveals that she secretly followed them and listened to their entire conversation. Girl unlocked the Spy DLC. Although she originally wanted the party to make herself more popular, she reluctantly agrees to change the plan and turn it into an event that helps Reiko make up with everyone. When Kamito praises her for being so kind, Aika immediately gets flustered. Instead of saying thank you, she headbutts him, because apparently that's her love language. Then she runs away before her embarrassment reaches maximum level. Finally, the day of the party arrives. Kamito gathers the entire class for a special Commoners Club experience. To everyone's surprise, Reiko shows up wearing casual clothes instead of her usual elegant academy outfit. Seeing her dress like an ordinary student catch everyone completely off guard. As part of the event, Reiko demonstrates how smartphones work. The girls are amazed when they discover that a phone has secretly been placed inside every single desk. Hakuwa really wasn't kidding when she said she'd make enough for everyone. Afterward, Reiko sincerely apologizes to all of her classmates, especially the friend she argued with. The misunderstanding is finally resolved. To celebrate, everyone starts taking selfies together. Within minutes, the girls become completely addicted to taking pictures. Bro introduced smartphones. Now the academy has officially entered the selfie era. The party ends up being a huge success. Later, Reiko thanks Kamito for helping repair her friendship. She gathers her courage. It looks like she's finally about to confess her feelings. Then Kamito unknowingly drops the worst possible impossible sentence. He explains that the entire idea for the party came from Aika. Oops. Reiko immediately misunderstands what he means. She assumes Kamito cares more about Aika than anyone else. Heartbroken, she runs away in tears before Kamito even realizes what happened. Not long afterward, Reiko confronts Aika inside Kamito's room. What starts as a simple argument quickly turns into a full-scale verbal battle. The insults start flying, the jealousy starts showing, and suddenly the room feels like the season finale. Kamito finally tries to step in and stop them, only to get smacked directly in the face by a flying pillow. Poor guy became friendly fire. The ridiculous accident is so unexpected that both girls immediately stop arguing. Sometimes, violence really does solve anime problems. Later that day, Aika opens up about her past. She explains that she wasn't always like this. When she was in elementary school, she became seriously ill. After recovering, her personality changed completely. Ever since then, she's viewed the world differently from everyone else. Even so, she says she doesn't really mind arguing with Reiko anymore. If she gets to spend time with Kamito playing games and reading manga, she's happy. Before the conversation can continue, Karen and Hakuwa suddenly arrive. Both want to officially join the Commoners Club. Not long after that, Reiko shows up as well and asks if she can become a member too. Aika clearly isn't excited about sharing her special club with everyone else, but after a little hesitation, she finally agrees. Of course, it doesn't take long before everyone starts arguing again. Meanwhile, Hakuwa completely ignores the chaos. She suddenly gets another flash of inspiration and begins covering the room with complicated equations like she's decorating the walls. At that exact moment, Kojo walks in carrying a giant pair of scissors. She takes one look at the disaster inside the room, and instantly assumes Kamito is responsible. Honestly, at this point she doesn't even need evidence anymore. Panicking, Kamito blurts out the first excuse that comes to mind. He loudly announces that he's only interested in muscular men. The room goes completely silent. Everyone is confused, including Kamito himself. Bro really sacrificed his own reputation just to survive another misunderstanding. The following day, we finally meet Kamito's friend Hanako. She's not just his friend, she's also a hugely popular idol and a successful voice actress. After finishing a radio show, Hanako checks a message from Kamito. To her surprise, he says that life at the academy is actually going much better than he ever expected. Back at the academy, Kamito wakes up, only to find Hakuwa already waiting inside his room. No knocking, no warning. Personal space has officially left the chat. Hakuwa cheerfully announces that she's hungry, so the two decide to make potato pancakes together. While they're cooking, Kamito praises her for helping out for about 5 seconds, because right in the middle of preparing lunch, Hakuwa suddenly gets another burst of inspiration. She immediately abandons the frying pan, grabs a marker, and starts covering the walls with complicated mathematical equations again. Bro's trying to cook, she's trying to solve the universe. Eventually, lunch is finally ready. The two quietly enjoy their meal together while passing the time with riddles. Hakuwa keeps searching for incredibly complicated scientific answers. Meanwhile, Kamito solves every riddle using nothing but basic common sense. The world's greatest genius gets defeated by the power of just think about it. Hakuwa is completely amazed. Later, Kamito walks her back to her laboratory. Once again, Hakuwa's maids notice how attached she's becoming to him. Before saying goodbye, Hakuwa quietly asks if they can spend more time together. Kamito smiles and promises they'll meet again soon. After returning to his room, Kamito notices something sitting on his bed. A stuffed doll. And it looks suspiciously like him. The second he realizes Hakuwa made it herself, he can't help feeling a little embarrassed. That's honestly kind of adorable. Later that evening, Reiko, Karen, and Aika gather for tea. Naturally, the topic quickly shifts to Hakuwa. The three girls all notice that she practically never leaves Kamito's side anymore. It makes them wonder if the little genius has started developing feelings for the Academy's one and only commoner. After thinking about it, Reiko, Aika, and Karen all realizes something awkward. They're jealous, not of Hakuwa herself, but of how much attention Kamito gives her. Instead of turning it into another rivalry, though, they agree to try becoming Hakuwa's friends instead. Honestly, character development. We love to see it. The next time Hakuwa visits Kamito's room, he's not there. Rather than sending her away, the girls invite her to spend time with them instead. Karen encourages Hakuwa to enjoy herself even without Kamito around. Unfortunately, Hakuwa is completely absorbed in reading manga. She's so focused that she barely even notices the tea and snacks waiting on the table. Relatable. Some of you ignore your family exactly like this when a new chapter drops. Eventually, they bring out Hakuwa's favorite food. That finally gets her attention. Food wins again. As the afternoon goes on, Hakuwa occasionally gets another flash of inspiration, and immediately starts writing complicated mathematical formulas all over the walls. By this point, everyone just accepts it as normal. When Hakuwa's maid finally arrives to pick her up, Hakuwa happily tells her that she spent the whole day hanging out with her friends. Hearing those words makes everyone smile. Before leaving, Hakuwa asks the girls one of Kamito's favorite riddles. To everyone's surprise, Aika solves it correctly. Hakuwa looks genuinely impressed. Congratulations, she just earned the approval of the Academy's biggest genius.